Now, live from the Valley View Casino and Hotel Studios, this is the Brett Winterble Show.
It is the Brett Winterble Show, 1-800-760-KFMB, on Twitter at Winterble Show. I'm thrilled to be joined on the show by somebody I admire a lot, somebody I like a lot, and somebody I've gotten to speak to over the years. Ann Coulter joins us. Ann, how are you?
Fine, thanks. How are you? Good to talk to you.
I'm so happy to have you here. It's great to have you here. And by the way, a couple of amazing books out right now. Adios America is one of them. Never trust a liberal over three, especially a Republican. And as we stay one day removed here from the Wisconsin results last night, you have brought the heat in a big way on Cruz Nation, my friend, with your latest column, Moonies for Cruz.
Yes. I just hate liars, and all of these behavioral patterns that all conservatives agreed we couldn't stand with the Clintons. This is why I hated the Clintons. Remember, they used to always say, "Oh, you just dislike him for his policy, and that's why you're making." No, and actually, as far as the Democrats go, I didn't really mind Bill Clinton's policies. It was just all that gutter snipe behavior, and we're getting the same thing from Cruz, which unfortunately is being followed by a lot of his supporters, who unfortunately are a lot of my friends. But I just went through a few. I started writing it up yesterday because we didn't. We had a pretty good idea, but
Sure.
We didn't know how Wisconsin was going to come out. And I had like 7 pages before the results came through. But a few from the column, which I had one posted on my website for a while. I turned on TV one night and I saw Cruz going on and on about how Donald Trump supports single-payer health care. He wants socialized medicine. Why he was on the debate stage, he said the time and place that Trump has been coming out for socialized medicine. And if you're for Bernie Sanders-style socialized medicine, your man is Donald Trump. Well, how many times does Trump have to say he's wants to scrap Obamacare? And in fact, I like the way he describes it. I like a lot of things that he says. Obviously the most important one is immigration, but
Right.
He doesn't have that, Washington insiders, that bureaucratese. Mm-hmm. And the way I remember the very first debate when Trump explained it like a normal person, what you would do with health insurance. He said, look, I'm a businessman. I would like to be able to buy insurance for all of my employees from state to state. You can't do that. You have to buy it within the state. That allows politicians to control it, and that's what the problem is. He made fun of, probably some of these politicians on stage with me. But that is what the problem is, that you can't buy health insurance across state lines. You can buy, you can go on Amazon and get shoes, underwear, raisins.
Right.
You can also get books. That's what provides good quality at low prices. Well, that has been removed from health insurance. And to hear someone explain it like a normal person, by the way, translated into Washington think tank dork talk, that's called portability. Health insurance portability. Nobody knows what you're talking about. And there was just an article today in the Wall Street Journal, of all places, since therefore open borders, But a foreign policy expert praising Trump for saying, maybe these foreign policy experts with all of their little lingo are wrong about this, and we can never get China to be the strong man with North Korea, which is what we need. That's in their area of influence. They always make promises, we'll deal with North Korea, and then they never did it. And he said, maybe the threat of a nuclear South Korea and a nuclear Japan would
Right.
finally get China on the ball here. And he was basically saying about foreign policy what I'm saying about healthcare. He's just a smart businessman, and he's not corrupted by the donors, which is why he's the only candidate in my lifetime who will, 1, build a wall, 2, deport illegals, 3, pause the never-ending stream of Muslim immigrants, 4, throw out these atrocious trade deals that are leaving our fellow Americans unemployed and themselves in need of welfare.
But and let me ask you this question, visiting with Ann Coulter here on the Brett Winterble Show. Last week, everybody was pointing to last week and saying he had a rough week. It started with his comments on NATO that were represented the way they were in the press, and then obviously the horrible interaction with Chris Matthews. I know you came out and praised it. You thought his answer was strong with Chris Matthews.
I do.
But even Trump walked it back later that afternoon because he was catching a lot lot of incoming on this. When you look at Trump running the race he's running, it seems that when he goes off of his fundamental messaging, Cruz is very good at fundamental messaging, right? We're going to repeal Obamacare. We're going to undo the executive orders. When Trump is pushing on the wall, creating jobs, tariffs, getting tough with China, he does very, very well. When he kind of, I don't want to say freelances, but freewheels it a little bit, he gets a little twisted. And it reminds me of the old adage about Richard Daley as the mayor of Chicago. Print what he means, not what he says. He gets twisted up by some of these interviewers.
There's something to that, absolutely. And, maybe he shouldn't do some of these interviews. I mean, again, I sort of find it refreshing. In fact, all these liberals who hate him, I've never seen someone come under such universal media attack as Donald Trump. But some of the interviewers or the TV hosts were complaining when other candidates were saying, "Oh, you're giving Donald Trump free media." And I don't know if you saw the New York Times described it as $1.8 billion in free media.
Yes.
And all they're adding up is how many times Trump has been mentioned. Well, I've seen a lot of this TV and read a lot of the press. That's $1.8 billion by my estimation of negative ads against Trump.
Right.
They're all attacking him. That doesn't count as an ad. But anyway, the hosts on TV were defending themselves, saying, well, come on, that's because we want to interview Trump. He answers the phone himself. He's immediately there. He will call into a show anytime, early morning, late at night.
Right.
The man doesn't sleep. So in some way, and also I like that he's getting past the media filter, especially because he is so hated by the media, and that includes most of the conservative media, who want to keep the gravy train rolling without ever doing anything to help Americans. But he's gotten past it by doing two things: the rallies. I mean, he is speaking directly to about 100,000 Americans every week through those rallies he holds. Nobody else has done that. So he gets the feedback from them, which is why, even though I don't trust anybody on immigration, I barely trust myself on immigration. We've been betrayed so many times. I think at this point we can trust Donald Trump because he is getting direct feedback at those audiences, and whenever things start going badly in a speech, it's kind of funny. He'll go right back to the wall, and that always gets him a standing ovation. It's the biggest applause line. He's the only person I would trust to build a wall. But the other way he gets past the media is through Twitter.
Yes,
that's direct communication. So yes, sometimes he tweets some things. Perhaps he should not.
Have you found yourself reading some of his tweets and going, "What the heck? What went on here, Donald?" I mean, how did this come about?
Well, the funniest thing happened yesterday. I did criticize in a jocular way, because I'm not a crazed Cruz supporter who can never criticize my guy. So I did criticize his retweet. This is 2 weeks ago. It's water under the bridge. I've moved on. But that retweet of Heidi Cruz and his wife.
That was a little, that was unnecessary only because it just got us off the message. It got people off the message. Now,
but Cruz did start it by attacking Trump's wife, and I think who started it is a perfectly good argument. But anyway, I'm sitting in a makeup chair yesterday before going on Hardball, and I was, commenting on this to the makeup artist. And she said the most hilarious thing. She sounded like Trump. Sometimes Trump is like a 14-year-old. She said, yeah, but it was a retweet.
Right.
I've never heard it. That's exactly what Trump seems to think. Well, that doesn't count. That's a retweet.
Ed Coulter joining us here on the Brett Winterble Show. All right, now I have to ask you this question because this is a group of people that I have found to be of particular annoyance to me as a talk show host, okay? And it is the #NeverTrump crowd. I don't think they do Cruz a particular service, and you allude to this in your Moonies for Cruz column that just dropped. It's a great column, and folks, I recommend you go over to AnnCoulter.com, get her great books, Adios America, How to Talk to a Liberal, and her great columns. But I don't think Never Trump is helping Cruz's efforts. I think it's alienating people who, if this thing all blows up, might be interested in going to Cruz, but it feels petulant, Ann.
Well, it's certainly alienating me. I think part of what it indicates, and let me say, because I am annoyed at, I don't like lies, and there are a lot of other lies I describe with quotes in my column. Yes. I'm not just name calling the way some supporters I could name. But I will say, look, this is the reason. And I've said nice things about Cruz. I think the reason a lot of people like him is for the good and reasonable reason that we think he must be a conservative because everyone in Washington hates him.
Right.
But as you look a little closer, he's actually kind of an establishment operator, and everyone hates him because he has an annoying personality. So I sympathize with people who see him as this is the guy who's going to stand up to the Washington establishment. But he really wasn't standing up to the establishment on the issues, the big issues that they really care about. They want to keep that cheap labor flowing. They want open borders. Right. They want to outsource American jobs. They want to help the globalist plutocrats and not the ordinary Americans. Well, he's flipped to Trump's side on the Trans-Pacific deal, partnership deal, which is a disastrous yielding of American sovereignty. He wrote an op-ed with, Paul Ryan in the Wall Street Journal less than a year ago, I think it was, defending TPP. Right. And then amnesty, he used to be all for legalization, just not citizenship, which would have lasted about 6 seconds.
Right.
He used to be for a virtual wall or, a wall that works. All these euphemisms for not a wall. Now he just says straight out he's for a wall. What else? He flips to Trump on all of these issues, and that's great. He's smarter than the rest of them, I guess. But I'm not sure I really trust him on it.
Sure.
And it's not going to be the Never Cruz people. I would say you're not helping your guy because
right.
I promise you, if it's a brokered convention, the powers that be are not picking Cruz. They may not pick Trump, but I promise you it's not going to be Cruz. So right now we know, and I tweeted this out today. It's a really cool thing. You wouldn't know this from watching TV. It sounds like, Trump is finished.
Right.
Well, according to that, the delegate calculator, if Trump only does as well as he has done through Wisconsin, gets only as many delegates, and remember in some of those early contests there were a lot of people in the races. If he gets only the same percentage, he gets to 1237 delegates by the convention. There are no number of delegates Cruz can win to get to 1237. So his candidacy, as well as obviously Kasich, at this point is nothing but a stop Trump movement, and it's not going to end up being Cruz. And
it's going to be tough when you end up, if you do get through that, end up taking on Hillary Clinton because you're not offering any kind of an affirmative plan, et cetera. This is going to be really interesting, Ann, and I know it's coming down to California, and I hope if you're out here, if you're out here, you can come on by in San Diego and hang out with the audience or something one day.
Oh, I think I will.
Oh, it'd be lovely. It'd be lovely. We'd love
to have California, and isn't that amazing? The California primary is going to be really important this year.
California voters matter. It should be a hashtag, Ann.
Yes. Well, in fact, I think I'm going to a Trump event. There's a press thing on Friday on Palos Verdes.
Oh, hubba. Well, if you get down here to America's finest city, we want to bring in and hang out with you, Ann. Okay, can we do that?
Oh, that would be fantastic. I love San Diego.
Well, we'll work it out. Ann Coulter, AnnCoulter.com. Adios, America. How to Talk to a Liberal. Her great columns. I look forward to visiting with you as this thing unfolds, Ann. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Good to talk to you, Brett.
All right, Ann Coulter. Love her. Want to get your thoughts straight ahead. 800-760-KFMB, 800-760-5362. It's the Brett Winterble Show on the AM 760 KFMB.